देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Om Narayan Narayan. Okay. In today's Sugama, we were continuing that Adhyasa is Anadi Ananta. Lot of disturbances. The topic of Ananta is not moving at all. I don't know how long it will take. Some vignas are happening. Okay. Today I hope we'll complete this topic and proceed with the next one. Already 20 minutes passed. Is it 20 minutes? Yes. 20 minutes passed. Or I should record on my own. Should I stop Facebook? That would be easy then. If nobody is visible, I don't have to wait. I can just go to the Facebook, YouTube. I can record and upload to the YouTube. Since I am waiting for people, at least one person to be visible on Facebook, it is taking time, wasting time. Okay. Adhyasa is Anadi, we discussed. Ananta we were discussing. The question was, how can it be Ananta? Two reasons. The doubt arises. Oh, this I didn't know. This I didn't know. Why it is not showing? Yeah, it was wondering. Some mistake somewhere. Okay, so Ananta, endless. So Adhyasa is endless because it is just like it is Ananta. Just like it is Anadi. Just as it is Anadi, it is Ananta. It is simple. So he had to explain. Swamiji has to explain many things because there was a doubt based upon 2 points. One is in Sushupti, Adhyasa breaks. Breaks means ceases to be there. Adhyasa ceases to be there in deep sleep. Secondly, by Jnanam, Adhyasa goes away. How do you say Adhyasa is Ananta? Now he has to say, in spite of its ceasing in Sushupti, in spite of Jnana, which falsifies Adhyasa, we have to show how Adhyasa is Ananta. Because Bhashyakara said it. To this, we discussed one point, Sushupti. We have been discussing that. In Sushupti, Swapecha Anuvrittihi, Sushupti, we have to look from 2 angles. One is our own Swarupa, another is the waking standpoint. That is the standpoint of Adhyasa. So Sushupti can be looked at from the Anubhava, where you are free from Adhyasa. Another is from an Adhyasa, which is a Vritti or which is a thought. From the standpoint of waking, from the standpoint of Adhyasa or Vritti, whatever you call. From the standpoint of thought, you look at Sushupti. Sushupti looks like a state. Sushupti looks like a state equal to the level of waking and dream. Then you imagine that Sushupti is only an Avyakta. Avyakta means tentative absence of waking state. So it is an absence of a state, yet it is related to Adhyasa, because once you take Sushupti as a state, it is within Adhyasa. See, it is outside waking state, but within Adhyasa. See the subtle difference. Sushupti, if you take it as a state, what happens? One is Sushupti as a Swarupa and another is Sushupti as a state. Sushupti as a state is outside waking state, but within Adhyasa. Just as dream is outside waking state, yet it is within Adhyasa. Because the vritti about Sushupti The memory about the Sushupti relates to Sushupti as a state. When you recall Sushupti, when you are in waking state, look at your Sushupti, it looks Sushupti is also a state. State means a thought. It is a thought of absence. It is a state, as a state, Sushupti is an absence of waking and dream state. As Sushupti as a state is an absence of waking and dream, yet it is a state, yet it is a vritti. Vritti in the sense it is an absence of waking. It is an absence of a world, and it is a potential world. That's why we say it is a potential vritti. It is a vritti that shows the presence of waking as a potential. Potentially waking state is present as an avyakta, and this avyakta is in a way extension of waking only. The waking thought extended into deep sleep, and you feel that Sushupti is a state, is an absence of waking world, tentative absence. This way we see it. Okay. Therefore, even in Sushupti, we can say, if you look at it from the avastha, if you look at the deep sleep as an avastha, as a state, we say that the individuality continues in the deep sleep. This is what we were discussing by quoting Sutra Bhashya. Okay, 2330. Yavadatma bhavitvacha doshas taddarshanat. Sata Somya Sampannavad. Sushupti as a Swarupa, as an Anubhava itself, free from individuality, free from I notion. Yet we imagine the continuation of I notion in deep sleep. When you take it as a state, and also at the level of waking state. Sushupti is taken as a state, and is also, it is one of the three. It is at the level of waking and dream state. It is one of the three. This way, if you take it, it looks that the I notion is continuing as it were. It appears as if the I is continuing in deep sleep. Therefore, Sata Somya Sada Sampanno Bhavati Tathapi Avivekinam Naitat Tattva Chittam Arohati. The Ajnanis who are Bahirmukha, who are deeply identified, strongly identified with the individuality, look from the standpoint of adhyasa only. For such people, it looks that I notion or adhyasa continues in deep sleep. It looks like that. Aviveki means aviveki doesn't mean any abusive term, because anybody who has not started doing viveka, anybody who has not started atma vichara is an aviveki. So aviveki is a natural state of anybody. It is not abusing of a given person, because the problem, it is not a mistake, it is not a weakness of any given person. It is a weakness of any jiva. Any jiva who is instinctively, naturally looks like that, thinks like that. So it is not a consciously committed mistake. It is an instinctive avidya, swabhavika avidya we call in Sanskrit. It is a swabhavika avidya. Nobody has consciously committed this mistake. Okay. Therefore, avivekis means who has not yet seen the distinction that the Sushupti as a Swarupa and Sushupti as looked from outside, looked from the waking state as a state. Okay. Sushupti as an avyakta, as a state, but Sushupti as a Swarupa. This viveka, this distinction, who are unable to make, they are unable to understand that Sushupti is actually free from individuality, but appears to be carrying the sense of individuality, appears to be continuing adhyasa innate. Okay. Individuality is an adhyasa. The sense of I notion is only a wrong notion. Adhyasa means a wrong notion. The I notion itself is a wrong notion. Wrong notion means what? actually not being there appears to be there. I appear to be an individual without my really being an individual. I appear to be an individual without really being an individual. I only appear. I, I have a notion. Without actually being there, I have a notion. Therefore, the sense of individuality or the sense of jiva is only a notion, just a notion, and nothing else. Therefore, it is adhyasa. Adhyasa means a notion which is not true to the reality. Reality is, in fact, is one, but the thought is another. If the thought is not true to the fact, we call it wrong notion. Therefore, avivekinam naitat tattvam chittam. So, as long as he continues in that I notion, in that wrong notion, so he cannot imagine freedom from individuality. See, a person who looks at Sushupti from outside, not as being in Sushupti. As in Sushupti, there is no individuality, there is no wrong notion, there is no notion whatsoever. But when you look at Sushupti as an outsider, so that being outside itself is adhyasa. Okay? As you see that you are going into Sushupti and coming out of Sushupti, this stand that I am an outsider, go into Sushupti, stay there for a while and come back. This very thought of going into Sushupti, stay there for a while and come back, these three thoughts are extensions of this standpoint, is an outside standpoint, an external standpoint to Sushupti. So, due to our external standpoint, we look at Sushupti. Okay. And when you are looking at Sushupti, what are you? You are an individual. There is an adhyasa. So, being in adhyasa, you are looking at Sushupti. And taking Sushupti as a state, you go there, stay and come back. This thought of going, staying and coming back, all these three are from the standpoint of adhyasa. But if you look at Sushupti as you are in, you are neither coming nor going. Okay. You can't say you are coming else because you are Sushupti. When everything is eliminated, when everything else is erased, including my individuality, when erased, I am free from sense of individuality, I am free from adhyasa, I am Sushupti. This Atma is Sushupti, the nameless, formless, pure existence is Sushupti. There is no adhyasa. From this standpoint, the Sushupti is yourself. You don't go and come. It is myself. Sushupti is synonymous to myself, is another name to myself. So this is one. But another is when you look to Sushupti as an outsider who goes in, that means you are imagining Sushupti. As an outsider, you think that you are going to Sushupti, staying there and coming back. All these three are thoughts. Okay, I am going is a thought. I am staying there is a thought. Coming back is a thought. Therefore, I recall my Sushupti is also, all these four are thoughts. Going is a thought, staying is a thought, coming back is a thought, recalling my Sushupti is a thought. So, this thought is adhyasa. From the adhyasa, you are looking at Sushupti. Okay. From adhyasa, when you are looking at Sushupti, therefore, even in Sushupti, adhyasa continues. This statement has to be properly understood. This is a big, there is a very, very, very important means not important, but a wrong misunderstanding, very harmful misunderstanding regarding Sushupti. So, Sushupti, I am going, staying and coming back. This is avyakta. So, this standpoint, looking at Sushupti from an outside standpoint is also mentioned in Upanishads in Shankara Bhashya. But that is mentioned from the Vyavaharika Drishti or Karma Kanda Drishti, Upasana Kanda Drishti. Okay, you may call it Vyavaharika Drishti or Karma Upasana, Karma Kanda Drishti. but not anubhava drishti. Okay. So, since there are two ways of looking, it is there. Because an aviveki who has not yet started doing vichara, who is instinctively in his adhyasa drishti, he thinks that he thinks like that sushupti is in another state, that sushupti is also is within adhyasa. But problem is here, it is within adhyasa, and therefore he thinks that I notion continues there. Adhyasa continues to be there. He thinks like that. Therefore, the same I, who is a waking I, in some form, in avyakta form, in invisible form, I go there, sleep, and come back. It is a thinking from the waking stand. That is it is a thinking from the standpoint of adhyasa. So, when we say adhyasa continues in deep sleep, avidya, adhyasa means avidya. When we say adhyasa continues in deep sleep, anumasyate, Bhashyakara says, from the srishti, it is anumasyate, it is inferred from the waking standpoint. Bhashyakara says, in Sutra Bhashya, it is inferred, it is imposed. Inferred is not really inference, it is an imposition. It inferred means imposed. It is imposed from the waking standpoint. From the external standpoint, the adhyasa is imposed on deep sleep. It is extended from the waking state. Okay. Or then avidya is there in deep sleep. Avidya is there in deep sleep doesn't mean that there is adhyasa. Adhyasa really experienced in deep sleep should not be thought of. So this is the mistake. When we say adhyasa continues in deep sleep, jiva continues in deep sleep, therefore adhyasa is ananta. Anadi ananta we have to say. Adhyasa is anadi ananta because until we give up the adhyasa standpoint and look at sushupti from our own swarupa standpoint, until that standpoint adhyasa continues. Appears to be continuing. Therefore, what appears to be continuing, it is an ajnani standpoint. So, assuming ajnani standpoint, tentatively accepting ajnani standpoint, we call technically as anuvada. Ajnani standpoint is tentatively taken, assumed, not that just because Shruti accepts it doesn't mean Shruti is accepting it as a right. Shruti is not accepting it as a right, it is only reflecting ajnani standpoint, tentatively taking it up in order to explain certain things. In order to explain certain vyavaharik things, it tentatively assumes. Okay. What we call it anuvada technically. Anuvada means what is jiva's misunderstanding. It assumes jiva's misunderstanding and explains certain other things. One is anuvada, another is teaching. Okay. Anuvada is restating, tentatively assuming the wrong standpoint of jiva. Upadesha is what Upanishad teaches from its own standpoint, what it wants to teach jiva. Here, looking at sushupti from outside standpoint, from external standpoint, is jiva's drishti. It is assuming to explain how the world is continuing, how jiva bhava is continuing in spite of going to sleep. In spite of going to sleep, jiva bhava continues. Adhyasa, avidya continues, samsara continues. Okay. In order to explain how samsara continues just by going to sleep and coming back, going to sleep and waking up, which is a normal experience of everybody, avidya is not going to end. Avidya is not going to end just because we go to sleep and then wake up. Samsara doesn't come to an end just because we give up one body and assume another body. Give up one body and assume another janmas, go to paraloka, go to sleep and wake up. The very going to sleep, staying there and coming back and recalling it, all these are from the standpoint of adhyasa. Therefore, this kind of going and staying and coming back is from the standpoint of adhyasa. Adhyasa is not given up. Therefore, in spite of Sushupti, Avidya continues. When this is stated, keeping what view is stated? External view of Sushupti. Okay? External view of Sushupti is kept in view. And from that standpoint, it is taken because for it, this accounts, this explains certain Vyavaharika standpoints, certain Karma Kanda issues it explains better. Because in Pralaya Kala, Sushupti is like a Pralaya, where Jiva suspended, world is suspended, but karmas won't be suspended. Jiva and world, all that remains hidden, all that remains in a potential form like a bija, like the seeds. And again the world comes out. Pralaya. After the Pralaya, again Srishti takes place, world comes back. Again Jiva, again Nama, Rupa, Desha, Kala, like before. So to explain these things, this waking standpoint or external standpoint is kept, because it explains the Karma Kanda. Otherwise, if you say that if you take directly Sushupti Swarupa and the fellow doesn't give up the Jiva Drishti and he thinks that karmas, whatever we do, karmas, all that would go away. Once you Pralaya takes place, karma will not exist. Karmas will continue in your avyakta state. That's why we called unmanifest. So to explain that unmanifest, avyakta or maya, whatever you call, avyakta, prakriti, maya, unmanifest, this waking standpoint is useful. External standpoint to Sushupti is useful. Okay. So this standpoint is also talked about to explain the upasana, karma and srishti pralaya. To explain that this standpoint is also used, but this standpoint is a jiva standpoint, ajnani standpoint. Shruti uses it in karma kanda, but in jnana kanda it still transcends all this. Therefore, another thing people say, why does jiva continue? Even if I go to sleep and come back, I am just like before. I am the same jiva, same ajnana continues in spite of going to sleep. Why? That's because the very going to sleep and coming back itself is within avidya. That I am going to sleep and staying there and again coming back and recalling my sleep. These four vrittis are within adhyasa only. Therefore, avidya, it is not that there is avidya in deep sleep. See, it should be modified. The sentence should be understood in this way. When Shastra says that there is avidya in deep sleep, it should be understood that being in avidya alone, you are thinking that going to sleep and coming back. It is not that there is avidya in deep sleep. This sentence that there is avidya in deep sleep has to be understood this way. Being in avidya, you are going to sleep and coming back. I think you have understood this point. Okay. When we say there is avidya in deep sleep, it should be understood this way. That's why we require sampradaya, we require guru. Otherwise, those who want to read self-read books, they will understand in their own way and all make all contradictions they see. Therefore, that's why we need guru's help to understand. At every step, even I had to take help of. At every hejje, at every step, he alone, Guruji alone has to help us. So see, it is when we say avidya continues in deep sleep, that is avyakta or pralaya. Pralaya, avyakta, deep sleep. All the three of different ways we are talking of the same thing. People say, I go to sleep and come. I go to sleep. Just by going to sleep, do you mean avidya ends? No, it doesn't end. Why? That I am going to sleep, stay and come back. This itself is from the standpoint of adhyasa. Okay. When we say there is avidya in deep sleep, it only means that you are looking at Sushupti still being in avidya from the outside drishti. That outside drishti is not yet removed. You can see these statements found scattered in Sutra Bhashya. In Sutra Bhashya, Shankara makes this clear. Anumasyate, he says, pralaya kalepi avidya anumasyate from the srishti kala. From the srishti kala, presence of avidya is adhyasa, is anumasyate, he says. You can see them in the second adhyaya, first pada. in second adhyaya, first pada of Brahma Sutra, he refers to this statement. For Swamiji, this is the basis. So, the people say, okay, if there is no adhyasa in deep sleep, then I'll go to deep sleep. When I go to sleep, will I be free from moksha, free from samsara? No, you can't be. Why? When you say Sushupti is Swarupam, then if I go to sleep, I should. Going to sleep is different from understanding Sushupti as Brahman. This is the difference. Going to sleep is different from understanding Sushupti as Brahman, as myself is different. Okay. When you are understanding Sushupti as Brahman, you are looking at yourself as Sushupti. But when you say, I want to go to sleep, then will I be free from samsara? The very going and coming itself is from the outside. Being an outsider, you are trying to go and come back. Okay? Being an outsider, you are going to sleep and stay there and come back. When you say, see, people ask this question. Yes, if you say there is no avidya, there is no samsara in deep sleep, then I'll go to sleep. Will I become free? Will I attain moksha? Then why am I coming back from deep sleep? This is the question they always ask. However number of times I tell, keep on asking the same question. So therefore today I'm repeating the same answer 10 times so that at least it catches their attention and understand it. Okay, when they say, since you say that there is no adhyasa in deep sleep, if Sushupti is only Brahma Swarupam only, then I'll go to sleep. Will I become free? If I become free in the deep sleep, then why do I get back into samsara again? Why do I get avidya when I wake up? If Sushupti, avidya is not there, why do I come into avidya again? After getting rid of, after removing avidya while going in deep sleep, why do I get avidya again when I wake up? First thing is, why should I wake up at all? Why should I wake up at all if there is no avidya in deep sleep? This is the question. The very question involves the answer. The answer is in your very question. See, he says, I'm going to sleep, stay and come back. This standpoint itself is avidya. Okay. I'm going, staying and coming back. And this going and coming back itself is from the standpoint of adhyasa. Okay. Therefore, you say, if there is no avidya, if I go to sleep, then why am I not liberated? You are not liberated because you have gone, you have not understood as Sushupti, you have gone to Sushupti. One who goes is still an outsider. One who goes is still an outsider. It is like a person, you go to somebody's house, you go to another city. I am from Holi Narsipura, I go to Bangalore. If I go to Bangalore and stay there 1 or 2 days and come back, what happened? I am still an alien person, outsider to Bangalore. But the person who is born and brought up and lives there, he has got a house and he lived there from his ancestral, from his generations. Then what do you say? He is a Bangalorean because he lives there alone. You can't call him that he has come. He says, there is no coming. I am here only. I don't come. But outsiders come to Bangalore and stay and go away. Similarly, one who comes from outside, that means you are coming from outside itself shows the standpoint of being an outsider and coming to sleep. This is adhyasa. Okay? The very standpoint of being an outsider and coming to sleep, as long as you think that I am coming to sleep from outside, that is adhyasa. When we say there is adhyasa in deep sleep, we mean that you are an outsider. You are looking as an outsider and going into sleep. And this thought of being an outsider and going to sleep itself is adhyasa. And that avidya is continuing. That avidya is there in deep sleep. When we say there is avidya continuing in deep sleep, okay, when we say avidya is continuing in deep sleep, we mean this. This point people are missing. Some people, I don't say all, but some people are missing this. Therefore, again and again the question arises. Okay, from the waking standpoint, you are an outsider going to sleep. This itself is adhyasa. Again coming back, that is adhyasa. Okay, but I am not an outsider. I am Sushupti. Then adhyasa is not there. That is an understanding that comes as a result of viveka, as a result of vichara. As a result of vichara, that I am an outsider, you give up. That standpoint is falsified. That I am an outsider and going to sleep. This is an adhyasa. This adhyasa is understood as a wrong, as a mithya jnanam, is a wrong knowledge. Is a wrong. Once you understand it as a wrong knowledge, then you neither go nor you come. You are you. Okay. Now you see clarity. Okay, then we'll proceed. Now, therefore, in Sushupti, avidya continues, jiva bhava continues. This statement, one standpoint is in Sushupti, avidya continues, jiva bhava continues. This is one standpoint. Therefore, from this standpoint, adhyasa is anadi, ananta. Adhyasa continues in the deep sleep also, because you wake up again. You go and come back. As long as you think of going and come back, adhyasa continues. In this sense, adhyasa is ananta. Okay? When Bhashyakara says adhyasa is anadi ananta, you have to understand, because he's perfectly right. He will not compromise. A great thinker, Shankaracharya. Therefore, tatapi avivekinam naitat chittamarohati. Avivekis are unable to, aviveki means who have not done sufficient viveka, sufficient vichara, sufficient observation and discovery. They are unable to understand, because still they continue in that wrong thought alone, wrong standpoint. They continue to be in that outsider's standpoint, going into sleep. The thought of going into sleep itself assumes you are an outsider, and you are going into this assumption. This is an instinctive assumption that I am an outsider going into sleep itself is adhyasa. This is the adhyasa. We say that it continues in the deep sleep. What is wrong in it? Tell me. Yeah, that's right. That's what we are telling. Therefore, naitat tattvam chittamarohati atayevahi tasu avastasu vishayanubhava bhavena. But in fact, if you see is toggling from the another standpoint is, look at the Sushupti as Sushupti, not as an outsider going into Sushupti. Okay? You as a jiva is an outsider and going into Sushupti. This is one standpoint. Another is, you are not coming from outside. You are yourself. You are yourself, because Sushupti is another name for myself. I am Sushupti. I alone remain. I give up everything, my body, sense organs, world and everything. I'll just erase, stand myself. Just bear myself. Alone, all alone myself, that non-dual self. Okay. In fact, if you look at the Sushupti, atayevahi tasu avastasu vishayanubhava bhavena. See, in Sushupti, there is no Vishaya. Vishaya means there is no object. Vishayanubhava bhavena sputatara pratibhasa abhavepi. See, sputatara. There is no vritti. There is no thought of subject. Sputatara pratibhasa abhavepi. Okay. There is no appearance of, there is no clear appearance of any subject or object. Okay. No appearance of subject and object thought. Neither there is a subjective thought or objective thought. Okay. Neither there is a subjective notion or objective notion. In deep sleep, very clear. It is everybody as an experience. Not when you look from as an outsider going to sleep and coming back is one standpoint. Not this standpoint. Actually, if you look at Sushupti as Sushupti, sleep as sleep, there is no thought whatsoever. Sputatara pratibhasa abhav. I have to explain the Sanskrit sentence. If you are holding the book, I am explaining every word, because people ask question again based upon the sentence. Therefore, I am explaining again every sentence of it. Sputatara pratibhasa abhavepi. Sputatara, very clear. Pratibhasa, an appearance. Abhava, there is no appearance, clear appearance. Clear appearance means what? There is no thought. Appearance is a thought. There is no clear thought. That means there is no thought of. There is no thought of either subject or object. There is no thought of either object or subject. No thought whatsoever. That means you are all alone as a Sakshi. You are alone as a purely Sakshi. Okay. Abhavepi, although that is the real experience of deep sleep, yet apratipodam ahamityeva atma spurati. Until the jnanam takes place, the I thought, I notion continues to exist in deep sleep. This is what people think. Because as an outsider you are looking at sleep, that outsider is aham thought, I notion. That I notion continues in the deep sleep and comes back. I notion continues to exist in deep sleep in a very subtle form, invisible form, unmanifest form. All these are imaginations, explanations, okay? All these are imaginations, explanation, not the actual experience. In the actual experience, totally there is no I notion. Yet we try to imagine because we have to account for. See, in the waking state there is an I notion. You go to sleep, again when you come back to waking state, again I notion continues. There was a waking world when you are in waking state. When you go to sleep and again come back, again the same world you see. This pen you put on the table before you were going to sleep. Again, when you wake up, you see these walls same, pen is same, this wall, these books, these people, this table, this chair, and this wall, this door, and these human beings, they are all same people. Oh, you wonder that it must be continuing in deep sleep. Because I am seeing the same world. I am seeing same myself. I am not a different person. This world is not different. Therefore, it must have continued. See, must have continued. See the way of talking. Must have continued. Yeah, okay. It must have continued. But your Anubhava doesn't say. In your Anubhava, no world. Yet, our mind thinks that there must be continuing. Otherwise, how does the world appear again? Okay. Since you are thinking like that as an external person, okay, it must have continued. Actually, in your Anubhava, there is no world, no thought, no individuality. Yet mind, the external person thinks that it must be present in an unmanifested form, in some kind of invisible form. Okay, some kind of invisible form. Therefore, until you gain jnanam, that means until you give up this external standpoint, you imagine that it is continuing in some manner, it is continuing. Iti keshamchana mithyagraha. Some people, mithya means unnecessarily, they are stubbornly hold on to this standpoint. Adamantly, mithyagraha. Adamantly they take this stand and talk. But this is only a stand. Don't say this is a reality. This is only a waker's standpoint you take to look at the deep sleep. But this is not reality. Okay. Tadetat vakshati Bhagavan Bhashyakaropi. Even Bhashyakara says, see Bhashyakara's own statement. Apicha mithyajnana purassaroyam atmano buddhyupadi sambandha. In one place, not one place, many places Bhashyakara says, this buddhyupadi sambandha continues until you gain jnanam. Buddhi upadhi sambandha to jiva. To Atma, buddhi is antakarana. Upadhi is association. Sambandha means you are in the association of antakarana. This Atma's connection with antakarana continues until you attain moksha. This buddhyupadi sambandha continues in some manner in deep sleep also. Because it is an external standpoint, note it. Remember it, don't forget it. It's an external standpoint. Therefore, mithya jnana purassaroyam. This, assuming that the relationship with Antakarana Sambandha to Atma continues in deep sleep. This is assumed due to Adhyasa. That means external standpoint. See, Mithya Jnana Purassaraha, Bhashyakara statement, you see. Shankaracharya's word is Mithya Jnana Purassarayam Buddhyupadi Sambandha Nacha Mithya Jnanasya Samyak Jnanat Anyatra Nivrittirasti. This Mithya Jnana, taking an external standpoint, to look at Sushupti, taking an external standpoint, that I am going and coming, this is external. This standpoint will not go until you negate it by Jnanam, until you falsify it, sublate it, negate it by Jnanam. That I am an external person going to sleep, this continues. Samyak Jnanadanyatra Nivrittirasti, until you gain the Samyak Jnanam, this cannot be removed. Nivrittirasti ityataha yavad brahmanavabodaha, until brahmatmatanavabodaha, until you understand that I am Brahman. That means until you give up this external standpoint and see yourself as Brahman. You are not an external person looking at Sushupti, you are Sushupti. Until you get that standpoint, Bodhaha, Tavadayam Buddhyupadi Sambandho Nashamyati, so long this Adhyasa will not come to an end. Therefore, Adhyasa is Ananta, Aitala. So, Tadeva Mithya Pratyaya Rupatvepi Kaladya Parichedat Prakrutasya Adhyasasya Anaditvam Anantatvam cha na anupapannamiti sthitam. Therefore, now we conclude the topic. It is going on for 4 or 5 classes. The same topic we have been discussing. I think it is clear now. Therefore, accepting, as Bhashyakara says, Adhyasa Anadi Ananta. That Adhyasa is endless until you gain Jnanam, can be accepted. It is not untenable, anupapannam. Okay, now we concluded this 57th passage. We'll proceed with the 58th in the next class. He says, Visheshanatrayasya ekadeshinam vyakhyanam tan nirakratischa. Ayyo, I already explained anyway. So I didn't know that Swamiji is going to explain anyway. In a way I have explained, but Swamiji says, this is very interesting. Bhashyakara's explanation of Anadi, Ananta, Naisargika. We were discussing in the last 5 to 10 classes, Nisarga, Anadi, Ananta. Nisarga is natural. Natural word in English is different. In Sanskrita, Swabhavika is different from Swarupa. Then in English we have to say natural and essentially natural. We have to use 2 different English. English is a very peculiar language. It doesn't convey Sanskrit words. So Naisargika is natural or instinctive, let us say. Not Swarupa. It is an instinctive. Then Anadi, Ananta. These 3 adjectives, the Vyakhyanakaras, Bhashyakara meant them in one way. But the other post-Shankarite Vyakhyanakaras, they explained these 3 words differently. How their explanation doesn't fit in, Swamiji takes up that and shows that. In a way we discussed it, but let us see how they explain. So, in the light of what we have explained, try to see them, how their explanations do not go well. That we will see in the next class. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Okay.